I'm gonna wait for just a minute to have people, maybe one or two, pop on, and then I'll begin. So for now, you can just look at me looking like a goofball. How are you all today? Okay, there's one. I'm not sure who it is. Say hello. It's Gail! Yay! Hello, Gail. It's so good to have you here. Since I have an audience of one, I'm gonna begin because that's where we start, right? And I just wanna say good Thursday morning. The moment has arrived for us to get ink and glue on our fingers and have some fun. For what I think is my most favorite class of the month, Technique Time. Hello, Sherry. It's good to see you here too. I was just saying this is my favorite class of the month, Technique Time. This is where we do a deep dive looking into a bundle that Stampin' Up is offering. And this month is all about the On the Horizon bundle. And I have to tell you something, that this bundle, so the stamps, the dies, and the DSP, you really need that DSP. These three things together make a powerhouse of a bundle and are awesome to have in your stamp arsenal, I call it, your arsenal of awesomeness. And it's awesome to have. So I totally have enjoyed the paper, the stamps, and the dies all together. Good morning, Doris. It's good to have you here. So happy that you are here with me. So there's Doris, Sherry, Gail, and I'm not sure who the other two are. Say hello so that I know. I do have to say that yesterday I had a good look through the 2023 annual catalog, and it's fabulous. I'll say it's totally fabulous. So Madeline's here. Good morning, Madeline. Good Thursday morning. That's what I like to say on Thursdays when we stamp. Good Thursday morning. Anyhow, so I digress, right? So I was telling you, I saw the catalog yesterday, and you guys, it's so fabulous, and you are receiving one in the mail. If you are a customer of mine, you will for surely be receiving one through the mail, and I'm not sure when they're coming. I think they probably sometime, I'll have to get back to you on when they actually come. I shipped one to myself so that I knew as well. But you know, we have until March 31st to get that order in. So it's gonna be sometime, I'm thinking the end of April, or somewhere in there. So anyhow, it's awesome. But I will tell you that the On the Horizon bundle is not in the new catalog, but it is available in the mini catalog through the end of June. So that catalog, it goes beyond what our annual catalog, so the annual catalog starts in May, but the January to June catalog finishes in June. So, hi Kat, it's good to have you here, and Linda, it's good to have you here too as well. I was just talking about the new catalog and that it's coming soon, but the On the Horizon bundle is not in that new catalog, but you still have plenty of time to get it, and it's awesome. You guys, it's such a departure from anything that I've stamped with from Stampin' Up before that it's just really totally been enjoyable. So I say, since you're here and we're ready to get moving, we're gonna flip the camera and we're gonna get to stamping and having some fun. So grab all your stuff, cover your eyes for just a second. Here comes the hand, right? Okay, let me do just a little bit of making you seasick here for just a second. Yeah, that's some definite seasickness. Let's bring this forward a little bit. Okay, all right. So as we usually begin after our good Thursday morning, we're gonna start with some announcements. So Kat says, thanks for the heads up. I don't have it yet. Yeah, I would especially take a look at the paper, because the paper could go really fast. And Jolinda says the papers for this suite make card making a breeze. They make card making a breeze, or they make card making really fulfilling. You know, if you really want to do an artfully avid style card. So the announcements for this month, or this coming month, April. So April's classes include Upstyle Your Paper Pumpkin. That class will be the 7th at 10 a.m. Hello, Marcia. I'm happy you're here. So Upstyle Your Paper Pumpkin, this will be not here in the Backstage Pass, but it'll be on my public page. So that's for everybody. Anybody can join. Bring your paper pumpkin kit. Supplies will be listed the night before on that page. Okay, that was announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, use it up. It made its debut this month with Sunshine and Rainbows, and we will be using it up again in April on the 14th of April. And the theme this month is going to be plants. Plants, leaves, succulents. Grab your punches, your dies that have that flavor, and let's use up the bloom where you are planted paper. And so that is going to be our focus for Use It Up in April. Now, some of you may have received a Use It Up kit in your Technique Time packet. How did you get that? Well, I now have the information for you. If you used a host code this month and ordered from me, that Use It Up kit was tucked into your Technique Time packet. Now, your order, and I'm doing stuff a little bit different than I was, just kind of changing things up. You have options now. There's 2 options to get your class for free. A $50 minimum purchase before tax and shipping gets you your Technique Time class for free. You'll need to pay the $8 shipping for that. Now, the second option to get your Technique Time class for free is with a $75 order before tax and shipping. And that will include Technique Time and Use It Up. So you're going to get 2 free kits with a $75 order. You have to use the host code, and you'll get free shipping. So I'll ship you your kit for free, and it'll include the Use It Up. So that's why you have that. Doris, your order came in just after I sent things off, so I did send you a Use It Up kit. Okay, so there is that. Technique Time for April is the Let's Set Sale Bundle, and that will be April 28th and 29th. Now, you might have heard me say, or you might have heard me mention it here or there, that I was waffling between Let's Set Sale and possibly Garden Greenhouse or Honeybee Home. And what I've decided is to actually do Technique Time, Let's Set Sale, but I'm also going to do a pickup class in April. It will be the week before, the 28th, and it will be another Technique Time featuring the Garden Greenhouse. I will get an ad made and post it so you guys can see that, and I'll give you the details. So you can sign up for the pickup class or Technique Time, or you can sign up for both. It's up to you. So look for those details. I'll post them probably later today. That's what I'm hoping for, but you never know. I have company coming tonight. Newell's sister and her husband's coming, and so anyhow. So Jolinda says, if we have a problem finding the hostess code, Elizabeth, can we place the order, contact her before having it to have the code added? So I will go over where that is. I'm going to do some pictures and circle where it is, because even I had problems putting in the hostess code the other day. I did it and it didn't take. So I think I'm missing one step. So I'm going to figure that out and give you that information. The hostess code is always listed on the right side of my blog. Plus, I will start posting it here, but you can always find it, or text me and I can send you what it is, okay? Because I always start a new one on the 1st of the month. Okay, enough business. It's time to take that deep dive into On the Horizon. Now, I would show you the paper too, but you guys have all the paper. I have sent out every, I've used, I bought 6 packs and I've used it all. So anyhow, on the horizon, here it is, this fabulous stamp set and dies. You guys, these dies are so cool with the paper and the stamps. So I'm hoping that you're all caught up and have all of your die cutting finished, because I have mine all done, so I'm going to be blazing through that part of it. Stamping, you might have seen what the stamps are and what we're stamping on our papers and things. I am going to stamp today. Those are posted for those who are porch stamping in San Jose. And for those of you who don't know why we have that, is because when I was living in San Jose and with COVID, I would have you guys come to my porch, stamp the things, and take your kit, and then we would meet online. So we're just kind of continuing on with that tradition. And so that's why there are some things posted for what the stamping is, but I am going to be stamping today. I will have to say, if you don't have this set, you can totally make it work with other greenery style stamp sets. This piece here, if you look for another piece, a small background piece like this, I'm actually going to use this to do what I'm calling painting with stamps. I did that many years ago with the Lily Pad Lake stamp bundle and die set, and it was kind of a wave image, and I used that to create fencing and faux wood and faux water. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing with this and use this stamp, not necessarily as this image, but as a paintbrush. Okay, so let's begin. So you have your packet. Your packet's going to look a little bit different because I have all my die cut pieces inside. So hopefully you found everything okay and that it arrived to you in good shape. But I'm just going to kind of dump this out because I need all the pieces, right? It's going to be a mess. I should probably have had a bowl here or something to catch all of this. Okay, so you have 2 pieces of twine, a short and a long. We'll differentiate between those. You also have some of and this is in the suite. This is part of the suite for the On the Horizon. And this is called the 1/8 inch cotton ribbon combo pack. And so it comes as a combination. You get a 5-yard roll of the pink, petal pink, and a 5-yard roll of the Misty Moonlight. This stuff it's soft, it's supple, and it's super usable and workable, and it doesn't create too much bulk. So there's that. Okay. And you have a tiny little packet of smalls, and in there you have, look at this one was labeled for my mom, but I ended up keeping it. You have some small iridescent rhinestones, and my pack is missing the pebbles. You all have the pebbles, and the pebbles are fantastic. So I have to wait for my pebbles to come in because I gave them all to you guys. Okay. So then you have bunches of die cuts that we'll be getting to all of those for sure. Okay. And I'm gonna flip mine over, kind of make a stack of them right there. And, whoops, you have your papers for your cards, and those are in the order that we're going to use them. Okay. So, kind of have those handy. And then you also have your designer series paper. Now, what you have here is half of what is in that pack. There is another half to this pack that I have set aside for another class, a class that will be focusing on making it manly. So anyway, so we're going to use these today. You're actually going to have 2 leftover pieces, and it's going to be these 2 pieces. You will also have some leftover die cuts. That was intentional, so those of you who are porch stamping could have some things and could actually make a few more things. So anyhow, the first piece that we're going to use today is going to be this one here, okay, and this one. So they kind of go together, in my opinion. They match. So you're looking for this one. This is going to be our focal image on the front of our card. So it's kind of got that nice pink sky, and you've got a blue mountain range in here that's kind of, it almost looks like what I imagine an Alaskan cruise would look like. And the back side looks like this. Look how cool that is. I love this piece too. So if you're looking for the one, that's what you're trying to find. And then this one here has a horizon line in kind of a dark navy and kind of a blackberry bliss. The back side of this is purple and blue with a little bit of kind of petal pink running through it. Okay, very, very light petal pink in here as well. So these are the two pieces we're gonna start with. And then our card pieces are going to be rich raspberry, gray granite, blackberry bliss, polished pink, and night of navy. Woo! That's a lot. This is all on one card. This is our big card for this class. And this is what I'm calling a double accordion fold. And we did one a while back, which I kind of geared this off of. However, it had two more folds in it and made it really, really bulky. So I've slimmed it up just a little bit. So the first thing you need to decide is if you want the night of navy to be your card base or if you want the polished pink to be your card base. Okay, let me show you the card and what I'm talking about. So the card is based on night of navy. That's how I've done it. There's also a piece of, and let me bring that up, polished pink in there. So you just can decide if you want to bring the night of navy behind this color and then back it with polished pink or vice versa. All right, giving you some options there. If you're gonna do the polished pink, which I'm going to do, we're going to trim it down to be, and let me bring my ruler in here. We're gonna trim this piece down to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. So we're going to trim our polished pink, if that's the color you're deciding to layer underneath. We're going to trim to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I'm just tucking this on the 4. Okay. Trash. And by 5 1/4. All right, so that's the first cut we're going to do. You won't have to cut anything else. I just wanted to give you an option for that. You won't have to cut any cardstock is what I'm saying, because you are gonna have to cut these. So let's look at our first cut. And I'm hoping you all know my method to my madness is always cut the narrower measurement first. And so, as you can see here, I'm using this side of the paper for this card, okay, for our card front. And so what I'm going to do is cut this piece, and I'm going to cut it at 3 3/4, because that's gonna layer onto the polished pink, okay? So 3 3/4, this piece is gonna end up being 3 3/4 by 5. So remembering we cut the narrowest measurement first, most of the time. So we're gonna do the 3 3/4 first. Okay, look at that nice piece. I'll tell you about that one in a minute. And then we're going to take the top off, okay? We're gonna turn it, and it's going to be by 5, okay? And save this as well, okay? We always save those pieces. So there's our first cut for this, okay? I'm gonna give you the measurements one more time. 3 3/4 inches wide, and let me bring this piece back in so you can see where it's coming from, okay? 3 3/4 inches wide, that was our first cut. And then our second cut was off of the top by 5, okay? Hi, Diana, it's good to see you. I'm gonna save these two, set those aside, know where they are. Better put them where I can find them rather than destroying the place. Now, our second piece of paper, we're going to do a similar cut. And what we're gonna do is we're actually going to take a 1/2 inch off the top and a 1/2 inch off the bottom. And the reason we're gonna do that is once the card is put together, it's so that our horizon lines are gonna meet up, okay? And I'll point that out in a minute. So turn your paper 90 degrees, okay? so that our cuts are parallel with the horizon line. And I'm gonna take a 1/2 inch off the top, okay? Take a 1/2 inch off the top, you can save that. Give it a 180-degree turn and take a 1/2 inch off the bottom. Okay, so one more time, let's just review since we're making some cuts and we wanna make sure that they're right. Let's see if I can figure out where this was. So I guess this was putting the puzzle back together. It's this way, okay? So we took, on this 6x6 piece of paper, we took a 1/2 inch off the top and a 1/2 inch off the bottom. Now we're going to simply cut this into 3 2-inch panels. So if I put this at 4, there's my first 2-inch panel, and move it to 2. Here is my second 2-inch panel. Okay, so now the trick is to keep these in order. Okay, so there you have these 3 pieces, and our paper cuts are done. No more cutting for this card. But let's get in and get some stamping going on here, okay? And so this piece will be layering onto here, but before we do that, we'll do some stamping and some fun stuff. Okay, so let's pull out the pieces, the die cuts that we need for this particular card. You're gonna need your vellum pieces, okay? You will need the, and this is a rich razzleberry, the trees in rich razzleberry, okay? And the little houses, sorry, that's Livy being loud. The little houses are pale papaya. And you have a mountain range, that is in Night of Navy, you will need that. And you are going to need, where is my, I'm missing a piece. Ah. You need the larger of the 2 die cuts, okay? So you have, this one is a little bit smaller, so this is the wrong one. Let me see if my other kit here, I'm gonna steal it. Oh great, it's missing it too. All right, well, we're just gonna go without for right now, but you also need the rectangle, and it's a stitched rectangle. It is 2 7/8 inches long by 7/8 inches wide. So that's the one you're looking for. So that will be on the very front. Okay, so these are the pieces you're gonna need for this part. We're gonna need some more on the inside, but we'll just kind of move this stack over to here. Okay, and let's begin, let me just kind of dump those, with the stamping on this. So we're not doing a ton of stamping on this one. We are going to stamp the birds. Now the birds, I always have to look at them, make sure I have them going the right way. So the birds, we're gonna stamp in Night of Navy, okay? Night of Navy, these are Night of Navy birds. Hopefully you can see the one I've done. And I'm going to stamp these, and I'm just gonna kind of, like they're almost just kind of coming out from, okay? Give a look at them, make sure you've got them facing the right direction. And there you have it. So just 2 sets of the birds, super easy. And then the Thinking of You, you're gonna want the Thinking of You in Night of Navy, okay? And that is going to be stamped on that 2 7/8 by 7/8 die cut. So that's in Night of Navy. Sorry I don't have that piece here. It's like, ah. Okay, and my kit for tomorrow night's missing it too. So I will add that later. You guys get it, right? All right, so I'm gonna shut that so I don't wreck anything. Oh, nope, I'm not gonna shut that. I'm actually gonna give it a squeeze, and I'm gonna use it as a paint palette, okay? And I'm gonna use that as a paint palette, and I'm going to use cinnamon cider as a paint palette. Give it a good squeeze so you can get some ink going in there. Okay, and I'm also going to use Blackberry Bliss as a paint palette. Oops, I didn't get too much, but that's okay. You don't need that much ink for this. Okay, now have a rag handy, okay, because we're going to be doing some stuff, and have some scratch paper handy as well, okay, because we're going to be doing this technique a couple times today. I just found I really liked what happens when you do it. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring in the, let me kind of set this in here, set myself up. I'm gonna bring in the pale papaya houses, and I'm gonna grab my water painter, okay? And so I'm gonna get my water painter going, okay? So it's going, whoops, and that's okay. I just blopped water right on it. That's okay. I'm gonna put water on here. And what I'm doing is just a really pale little wash of cinnamon cider on here. And I'm not really, you can see I'm just kind of throwing it on. I'm not making it very specific, okay? But I'm just trying to add a little bit of dimension and interest to this. Now where I am going to be a little bit more specific is I'm gonna come across the roof line on each side, on all three of these houses, I should say. And I'm gonna come down this side just a little bit. Okay, so the sun is coming in from this side because this side is in shadows. Okay, and then if you need to use your rag to give your water brush a clean, you could also use a cup of water to clean that out. If you want to intensify, I think I want to intensify it just a little bit more so it shows up. And I'm going to set that aside to dry. Hopefully you guys can see that there's a little bit of, you know, I've hit this roof line just a little bit harder. As it dries, maybe it'll show up a little bit more on camera. Okay, next one, clean your brush. And we're going to do the same thing with the trees. We're just going to do a real simple wash. I'm going to use the Blackberry Bliss this time. And I'm just giving this a little bit of a wash, because if it's just flat cardstock against this beautiful paper, it looks a little stark. And when I found, when I kind of did something like this, it just zhuzhed it up a little bit. It gave it a little bit more life and in and out. So it gave it some depth. So it's kind of hard to see, but you know, I've just done a little bit. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the Night of Navy. So you'll notice I kind of worked in color progression so that if my brush is kind of dirty, it's not totally going to matter. But I'm going to do the same thing here to these cool mountains. Okay, and I'm not necessarily making sure that it's all, you know, I'm just kind of randomly adding stuff. Again, just to give it some in and out and, you know, physical dimension. Okay, there it is. So there are the fronts. Now, I happen to know that on the inside of this, we're going to need the blackberry. This is the blackberry houses. So let's do the same thing. And I think I'm going to switch back to the blackberry though. So get your, sometimes I can't tell if my aqua painter is going, but just go ahead and do a wash on these houses as well. Okay, kind of hit the same action. Roof line, side of the house, roof line, side of the house. And that's so dark you may not see it now, but when it dries, maybe you will. Okay, so there's that. Now, as I'm looking at my pale papaya, I think maybe if I hold it up against white, you'll see it better. So now you can see a little bit of that. See how the left side of the roof and the left side of the house, of each house, has a little bit of shadow added to it. Okay, I'm not doing anything with the, I'm not gonna do anything with the vellum, because if you get vellum wet, it just curls. Okay, so clean your brush because we're going to be using it again in a momentito. okay? But I'm gonna clean some of this stuff away that we don't need, okay? And let's start to assemble some things here. So I am going to close these for now because you know me. I set stuff right inside the ink pads. And it's like, oh man, what is that? Oh yeah, it's set in a pad. Okay, so there is that. So let's bring this in. And this piece here is going to glue to the front, classic layer style. Okay, and I'm using green cap glue, also known as liquid adhesive Tombow multi-purpose. I don't know, what is its official name? It's crazy. Okay. All right, and now's where we're gonna start to play with this horizon line. Okay, the first thing I wanna do is grab my Wink of Stella. Stella! Here she is. Okay, give her a squeeze. And I'm just going to do Wink of Stella. I'm just gonna brush, and you may not even see this, but I'm doing it anyway because I'm weird. But I'm adding Wink of Stella to the horizon line, okay? So add your Wink of Stella to the horizon line. Then you're going to take, and I had you cut out 2 of the vellum pieces that these could be like rolling hills. I'm gonna use it as kind of a water look today. This also could be water or more of a grass. There's all kinds of things this could be, you know, like a grassy hill. This one I didn't necessarily use on this card, but you could. This is one of those pieces that if you wanted to add it to another one, you could. But let me show you how I have attached this piece. Is going to go straight across right in here, and it's going to be the lake, okay? But you can see that it's actually too long. What I did is I scooched this over like so, and I just kind of gave, I reshaped this side right here with my scissors. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna come in here and just kind of come in, and now I'm going to follow this curve right there, and voila, it's the perfect size now. And to glue this down, it's like, oh man, what's it gonna, you know, how am I gonna hide the mechanics on this? So this one, and I'm gonna show you what I did, just very, very barely any glue at all. I just ran a really minuscule bead of glue because again, this is liquid and it'll make things curl. But I'm just running just the teeniest micro amounts right on this edge. I mean, I can barely even see them, okay? So that's how I hid my mechanics on this. And now that's gonna sit right on that horizon line, okay? And then just give it a press down. And look, it stayed just fine. Next layer is going to be our painted trees. So I'm not sure if that's showing up or not. Let me bring in white again. It shows a little bit. I see it here, and that's what I'm looking for. Actually, I lied. The mountains go first, then the trees. And I've got ink. Where am I getting ink? Shoot, Queen. Okay. I have you know, you have to catch this, and you have to do this while you have, see how I have ink right here? If you catch it soon enough, sometimes you can use a sand eraser to get that off. Doesn't look like it wants to come off though, bummer. Okay, so I digress. It's only the second time today. Okay, so this one, just gluing a little bit on these, the backs of the mountain piece here, and it's going to run, and I'm kind of accenting this right in here. I'm gonna go a little bit higher than it, okay? So that I can see some of the detail in that. You decide. You could do yours a little lower. It's all up to you. Next layer, and these are all glued. There's no dimensionals in this because this card is already good and puffy because of all the accordion folds we're going to be adding to it. Any questions so far? How is your card coming? Are you stamping or are you just watching? Okay, so this one is going to lay down right. Let me kind of sneak it up just a little bit, right there at that horizon line. Okay. And then this one, same thing, a little bit more glue. And it's going to kind of come right in here. And I actually did this so that these trees kind of look like they're poking, coming out right there. Okay, so there is the front of our card. Now you've gone ahead and hopefully you have stamped your label here, your stitched rectangle in Night of Navy. That is going to add on with dimensionals. That's the only thing that has dimensionals on the front, and it's going to set right down here in the bottom right corner. I'm sorry I don't have that piece, but if I use this piece, it's the wrong piece, and I need it for another card. But I'm sure you get the idea. So add dimensionals. I did 4 across the back and tucked that right there. Now, don't worry about the ribbon just yet. We'll get to that. Let's set this aside for now. And let me show you how this card works. It unties, and then this side is an accordion and this side is an accordion, okay? And they kind of fit together. This is the bookmark we're gonna make, and I'm gonna talk about that in just a minute. But here you can see, and I'll flip this panel over, here you can see the 3 pieces that we cut from the other piece and where they're going to land, okay? So, there you have it. And what I'm gonna do, something a little bit different that I had already glued this down and I realized we had such a beautiful piece left over, why not include it in this card? So you're gonna make the bookmark no matter what. And so this bookmark, if you just are gonna use it as a bookmark, you can just flip the tails up and it can be more like a tag. Or if you want to fold them down, what I'm going to do on my card today is I'm gonna notch this out and make a pocket, because that's my thing right now. I'm putting pockets in everything. You know, every pair of pants you buy, every pair of every coat you buy, it all has pockets, right? So why can't cards all have pockets? So you can choose to just make it this, or you can choose to make it a pocket, and I'm gonna show you that right now. So let's assemble our card pieces. So we're gonna need the Night of Navy, the Blackberry Bliss, and the Gray Granite. And so, real easy here, folks. What we're gonna do, I've already folded one for you. So if you kind of fold this open, right? So you still have this score line that has not been done. This one is going to fold back on itself, okay? And so let's give that a good score. And we're going to glue it to our Night of Navy, okay? And this one is not gonna be the pocket, so I can just glue the whole thing down. Okay. Kind of wiggle that glue into place, and there you have it. Now, if you're going to make the pocket, let's do that step now. Okay, so let's hold this piece and put the score line that has not been folded to the right side, okay? This piece is going to layer in here, okay? And this one is going to fold back, okay? It's going to fold back. But what we're going to do is we're going to trim some off this one side here, okay? So let's give this a good fold. Okay, so we have our piece like so, and it fits in here, but it doesn't fit in here. So we actually need to trim part of that off, Okay, so in order to keep these tabs all the same at 2.25 inches so that our other panels lay in, this side needs to be trimmed. So we are going to trim 1/4 inch off, okay? So let me just measure and double check because I wrote these notes a long time ago, but I just want to be sure because we want that to land right about there. So we want the whole thing to be, so yes, we're gonna take 1/4 inch off, okay? So let me show you the side that we're taking 1/4 inch off is on the larger side. 1/4 inch off the larger side. Now don't let me confuse you because I'm gonna cut it. I have to turn my paper to cut it, right? So take 1/4 inch off. All right, so that 1/4 inch came off of the left side, okay? So take that 1/4 inch off. Now that you have that, if you want to make the pocket, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a circle punch, and it can be a circle punch any size. It could be a 1 inch, it could be 1 1/4 like this, it could be it could be 1 3/8, whatever you have handy. Kayleen, you're trying to watch, but I have no picture. Does anybody else have that issue? I don't know, that might just be on your end. So I'm taking a bite with my circle punch and I'm eyeballing the center, okay? And now when we glue this down, okay, we know this is the back, I'm gonna glue it as a pocket. So Kayleen, pop out, pop back in. That's the best advice I can give. Hopefully that will work for you. Okay, so Jolinda's in, no problem. Okay, so there I've put my glue just on the back. And now I'm gonna center this panel inside the Blackberry Bliss. Okay. All right, so there is that. And now you can see, since I didn't do it on my first card, you can see our bookmark will fit in here just nice once we kind of train it a little bit. Let me kind of lift that up to get that in there. And so now as this sits down in here, these kind of hang down in the front, which is why I had the ribbons down. Okay, so there we have it. Let's keep going. So we have our 3 panels that we cut, right? Here's our 3 panels. And I have to remember what order they were in. That's not right. I said, don't get them out of order. And what did I do? I got them out of order. I think that's not right. Oh, okay, first. Oh, here we go. Okay, I found the order. Don't get them out of order. We're not going to worry about this one just yet because we're going to have to trim that one down. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to do some decorating of these 3 panels. And what I'm going to do is actually pull my card away now that I know the order that they go in. And I'm going to add birds to each panel. I'm also going to add Wink of Stella to the horizon line again. Okay, so, and I'm imagining that this is kind of a lake, kind of coming off of our, the front, that we've created a lake with a lake house and all kinds of stuff. And so my birds are kind of flying across and they're coming from below, down low on the left side and up high to the right. So I actually have them stamped kind of like so. So there's 1. And then they're coming across here, 2. And they're even higher up into here. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. So far we've stamped not a whole ton, but it is pretty. It is really pretty. All right. And we're going to add Wink of Stella. Oops, that's water painter, not Wink of Stella. And you don't need to do a lot, just a little bit of Wink of Stella right on that horizon line. Okay. And the reason we trimmed the 1/2 inch off of this was so that as we assemble our card and our card front comes in here, now our horizon lines match, okay? So they're at the same level when the card is, you know, open, or you can see certain sections. So let's glue that on. Don't glue on the third one just yet, because we're gonna trim 1/8 of an inch off each end so that it fits. Okay, so here's this one. Ta-da! Pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And ta-da! There's that one. So far, so good. Nice and easy. Now, this one comes into this section here, but in order to kind of make it match the others, I'm going to take not a 1/2 inch, 1/8 inch off of both ends. That way I maintain my horizon line throughout. Okay, so 1/8 inch. So this panel here is 5 inches. Okay, so let's just double check. It's 5 inches. Now we want to make this piece right now that is 5 inches. We want it to be 1/4 of an inch shorter so that it fits in here as a classic layer. So to do that though, and maintain the horizon line, I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off of the top. Okay, so I know I said it a couple times. I hope it just kind of makes sense. So there was 1/8 of an inch off the top and 1/8 of an inch off of the bottom. Okay, now that fits nicely in there, and we've maintained the horizon line. Ta-da! Okay, we're not quite finished with the inside here. Okay, now you have that smaller stitched rectangle. This one measures, just so that you have the right one, this one measures 2 3/8 by 1 inch. So 2 3/8 by 1 inch. And we're gonna stamp that in Night of Navy. And we're going to use the Relax and Enjoy Your Day. So thinking of you. So this would be perfect for like a masculine birthday if you wanted to tuck, you know, a gift card in the pocket, or it can be for anybody. All right, so I need a block. So here's a block. Relax and enjoy your day. All right, you know me. I'm gonna try and put this on as straight as I can get it, and I'm gonna test it against my Stampin' Grid. Okay, it's stamping a little high. Of course, you guys didn't see it, but I see it now that there's ink on here. It's stamping a little high to the one side. And the reason I'm doing that is because this one's red, it's red rubber, which is awesome, but still stamping a little high. Sorry, but it's the little things that count that makes it so that your piece is straight and not funky looking. Okay, one more time. All right. Now the day is a little low. Okay, so I'm gonna compensate for it. All right, so this is gonna pop right here in the middle. Ah, shoot, Queen. It looks a little funky. Oh, well, I could do it on the other side. The stitching's reversed, but that's okay. I'm going to try it anyway. Yeah, that one's better. I'm using that one. Okay, I'm sure you guys have the same issues. All right, so there's that. And we're going to use some of those houses that we painted. Okay. And let's see here. Do you remember this piece of paper? This piece came from our So when we did the front of our card here, so this piece right in here, the top of this piece, I said keep that handy. We're going to use it. Well, here's where we're going to use it right now. So we're going to turn it over, and that, if you look here, I used the die cut and I cut my own water, and I cut some water for here. Now, if you don't have the die cuts, what you can do is what I'm going to do now, so that mine is like yours, is I'm just going to freehand a shape similar. So I'm just going to cut a wave action into here. Okay, see, you don't have to have the dies. And I'm just coming kind of all the way across, and I'm mimicking the one that's on the front. It's not going to be exact, but there you have it. Okay, there's our water for the inside of this, and I'm actually going to trim this just a wee bit shorter because it's a little tight, so I'm just going to kind of follow. There we go. Okay, and this one, I'll bring in my original here. I'm going to glue it down at the bottom. Okay, if you have the dies, go ahead and use the piece that I used for the vellum that we're kind of pretending looks like water, but I said could be grass, it could be hills, it could be all kinds of things. And then your relax and enjoy the day. It's gonna go a little bit higher, okay, and it's gonna go center. And then the houses here, these are more lake houses. They could be beach houses too, little cabanas out on the beach would be cute. And so these are going to sit right in here, okay? Just like so. Now, I did hit these with a little bit of Wink of Stella. I keep pulling my aqua painter as Wink of Stella. And so I am going to, oh, I hate that when the lids do that. Okay, so I am going to add just a little bit of Wink here. This is a juicy Wink of Stella. Ooh, my, look at all that. I'm gonna need to block that. Woo, juicy, juicy on that one. Okay, there's that. And now the bookmark is going to slip down inside. So let's make that bookmark, okay? And it looks like I missed a set of houses, but that's okay. So what we're gonna do is you have a piece of rich razzleberry, okay? So the rich razzleberry, and you can just decide how much you want to cut off of either end. It doesn't really matter. I think I kind of did a little bit of both because I liked pulling in this, there's a little bit of pale papaya right in here, and it ties into our, the front. So I'm going to trim off. So this tag here, it's not a tag, it's a bookmark, or it could be a tag, is 4 3/4. So we need our finished piece here to be 4 1/2. So, and it's 6 inches. So I'm just gonna take, so if we want it 4 1/2, we need to take 1.5 inches off. So 3/4. So I'm gonna take 3/4 off of the top. Okay, and 3/4 off of the bottom. Is that right? Or do I need to take 1 inch off? Let's double check. Yep, you need to take 3/4, not 1 inch. Okay, so I'm taking 3/4 off the top and off the bottom. Okay. And then that is going to layer on here like so. And we're gonna stamp the birds on there in Night of Navy. Okay, and so I'm just gonna kind of put them up kind of midway into here, flying. There you have it. Are birds in Night of Navy? Yes, all of the birds on this card are in Night of Navy. Good question, Maggie. Awesome. But it wouldn't matter if they were in Blackberry Bliss. That would be a nice, for this card, that would be a nice combination. Okay, and now you have a piece of pink. You have two small little rectangles, okay? One of them is a stitched rectangle in petal pink, and one is just a hand-cut rectangle in Blushing Bride, okay? And so in that Blushing Bride, we're going to stamp the word breathe, okay? And where did I put it? I brought a little block. I need to take it out of the case. That's where it is. And we're going to stamp it in Night of Navy. So far, oops, this is not the case. Here's the case. Hello. Here's the word breathe. Breathe, relax. Okay? And it doesn't matter if this is not stamped totally straight or perfect on here. It's not going to matter. Stamp it. Oh, that doesn't look so good. My E is, can you see what I did to my E? How it's kind of like blotchy. So I'm going to redo because I have paper here to redo it. Ah, that's much better. Upside down, but better. Okay, I'm going to close my lid here. And I'm going to fussy cut the word breathe, but it's going to be a super easy fussy cut. And because I'm just going to do it with a long bladed scissor. That's how I like to do this sort of fussy cut. Because I can come in here and just cut straight across. Cut the word breathe. This bottom side's a little bit tricky to hold on. But there's the word breathe, okay? And now I wanted this to have just a little bit of dimension, but I didn't want to use a dimensional because that would be way too much. And so what I did is I just took a skinny little piece like so, just making sure it's a little bit smaller than. That's why I gave you extra. And then I'm just going to glue that on the back here just to give it a little bit of lift. You could use a couple glue dots and that would give it a little lift, but I'm having a hard time with glue dots lately because they're wound on the rolls backwards and it bugs me. And so when I go to take them off, they stick to the roll too much. So I've been having a bad relationship with glue dots. Okay, so there's the word breathe, okay? Now I'm missing a set of houses, which is a bummer. But you know, I could use the grass because you have an extra grass in here. You have a couple extra fences, but pick a piece and kind of put it there. For now, I'm just going to put the word breathe. And I have the die cuts, the dies and a Big Shot right here, but I don't have any paper. So anyhow, let me bring the original in. Okay, spin this around. So here's the word breathe. I could stamp the trees here as well. If I wanted, I could stamp them in Blackberry Bliss. In fact, maybe I will do that since I'm missing the, here's the trees. Since I am missing the houses, and we're not gonna go back, we're gonna make it work. I'm gonna take the trees here and just put them right in. Okay. Oh, even prettier. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. There's that. And now in your smalls bag, you have a circle. That's a Misty Moonlight circle. Okay, so grab that. And we're going to fold it in half. Just give it a good fold. And we're going to glue it right over the top here, okay? So we're just kind of making it easy to pull out of that pocket if you want to. Now, I want you to notice I'm not going to put glue in the center because I'm going to be punching a hole. And I don't like my punches to go through glue. Okay? So just pop that on the center there. All right, how's everybody doing? Any other questions so far? Okay, we're gonna need the pink ribbon, and in your packet there you have 2 pieces of linen thread. Okay, so grab your 2 pieces of linen thread, kind of hold them side by side and pull them out. Okay, the longer one is for this card. Okay, so you want the longer one. All right. And what I'm going to do is take my hole punch. This is a 3/8. Is this a 3/8 or a quarter? Anyways, it's not very big. I'm just going to punch a hole there. It's got to go through a lot of layers. Oh, I'm not very centered, but by the time we get the bow and everything on here, it will be fine. Now, to do this, all you're going to do is put your pink into the hole. Okay, maybe cut it on an angle. It'll help feed it through there better. Okay, and you're going to bring both of them down. Okay, so they're both, so I've just got it through and now I'm folding this one down. Okay, one more time. So I fed it through and I'm bringing this down. Now I'm going to take my linen thread, just kind of pick this up, and I'm going to tie it in a bow. And for a second here, it's a little bit fumbly, but then you can pull it tight. So here's my pieces. Now I can kind of come in here and flatten that because it flipped. Pull my linen thread up to the top. Okay. And I'm just kind of trying to, now I'm kind of bringing that there. And I'm gonna tie this in a knot because it's just easier once it's in a knot. Okay, now I can really kind of hunker down on this and it's not gonna come. Okay, and I'm gonna take the curl out of the linen thread here by just running it through my fingernails. I should have done that before. Would have been a lot easier to tie. All right, and then just tie yourself a regular old bow. Ooh, look how uneven, but whoops, wasn't the one I was thinking I was pulling. Okay, and then fix your bow here. And we are nearing the end of this card. Okay, my bow is really ugly right now. I do go back through, sometimes it's like, ooh, that's not a funky looking bow. I mean, it's not a very pretty bow. And I fix them after. All right, give your tails, kind of hold both of them and give them a trim. Same thing with your pink, and you can trim that to any length you like. Anything that, okay. And now this is going to slip into the pocket here. Okay. And this slides all the way down and in. Okay, and we want these on the inside. Okay, just a few more things and this card is almost done. So our card front here, we're going to close the blackberry, close the gray granite, and now this piece is going to glue on top of just this gray granite side. So this is where we're going to add adhesive. Okay. And this, when the card is shut and closed, how you know you've got it on right, you're gonna line it up so that your polished pink and your Blackberry Bliss, it should cover the Blackberry Bliss, okay? Because they're the same size when this is folded, okay? So there's that, okay? There it is. Now, on the very back, we're going to take out, there is a blue, there's a blue, a Night of Navy stitched rectangle in your smalls bag. And we're gonna take that out, okay? And we're going to glue that on the back, but we're not exactly sure where it's gonna go on the back just yet. Okay, so we're gonna grab our big piece of ribbon here, okay? Close your card, and I want you to tie your card shut with your ribbon between, and let me bring my original in here because I'm missing a layer. So you're gonna tie your ribbon around, and it's gonna tie right under the houses and above the thinking of you, okay? Kind of get it right where you want it. And then we're gonna glue the ribbon slide on the back, which is gonna hold it in place, okay? So I kind of want my bow over here on this right side just a little bit. Okay. There's my bow. Let me trim my ends. Give a clean cut on this end here. Good. Now, make sure you have that exactly where you want it. I'm going to raise mine up just a little bit. Make sure it's straight. Okay, now flip your card over, and we're going to glue this piece. This is going to be the ribbon slide. Okay, so the ribbon's going to slide through here, but it's going to stay attached to the card. Okay, so notice I've put the adhesive to the sides. Okay, and this is going to just glue in the center back. What would be really cool right here is if you put your hand stamped by, so then it looked official, like, why is that there? Now, you could have, when I was thinking about this card, I could have done it so that the ribbon was sandwiched between the Night of Navy and the Blackberry, but then it wouldn't have included the Night of Navy into the card. And so I wanted it to feel inclusive, which is why I did it that way. So Kayleen, oh, I see now, I missed all this. Okay, what did you miss? The whole thing? That's the great thing about these days is you can go back and catch a replay. All right, so let me show you. I do want this to kind of tuck down inside so that ribbon, I'm gonna see how this one's trained down. I'm gonna train that one a little bit better so that it's not sticking out. The last thing for this card is that we're going to add the 3 iridescent rhinestones that are in your smalls bag. Okay, so find them in your smalls bag. I took them out when I took out that blue. And I'm gonna do these 3, kind of, they're the little windows into these houses. And I'm putting them right on the right side of the house. You could put them in the middle or on the top or wherever you want. It's totally, or if you want to spread them out on the card, that's good too. That would be really pretty. But this is where I did them originally. Get over here. Okay, there it is. Let me just give these, I like to use a hobby blade or my take your pick tool. But I do kind of turn this over and I give them a mash on there. Okay, so there you have it. There's your finished card. And I could tie this one shut. Here is the bookmark. Mine is minus this fun little tag. I will add it and I will have them tomorrow night. So there you have our first, this is our fancy fold card, and this is our first card, which means one and done. And if we use the pink for the base, there is a contrast. Yes, that's a great point with the ribbon slide. That's pretty. Did you use the pink as your base, Jolinda? Just curious. Maybe tomorrow night I'll do the pink as the base. Speaking of which, tomorrow night is on Zoom. Anybody can come on, pop on, visit with us. I'll be doing the cards again. If you have questions, you can ask questions. It's so much more fun live than just, you know, me talking to the face of my phone. So Jolinda loves the card. Great. Well, I hope you love this next card. This next card is super de-duper pretty. Holy cow, I love this card. And so the pieces that we're going to need are going to be these right here. So inside your papers, it's kind of a pink and yellow sky with some green grass, okay? And the back is pretty much pink and petal pink, okay? So that's the pink piece you're looking for. You're going to need the Evening Evergreen card base, the cinnamon cider, and you have a smaller piece of white here. And this white is, I believe it's 3 3/4 by 5. I lied. It's 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So it's even smaller. So 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. This will be the inside of our card. Okay, so let's do a little bit of cutting of this designer series paper. You are going to have a chunk of this left over, and so you'll be able to do whatever you want with this. This piece and this next piece that we're going to use are my favorite pieces in this whole pack. I could use a whole pack of this. Okay, so this piece here, we are going to cut this piece of designer series paper. Again, we're going to cut the narrow side first, our narrow measurement first. And so our first measurement is going to be 3 1/2. Okay, so 3 1/2. Save that, it's beautiful, make something gorgeous. So 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. And so what I did on this one is I'm gonna take off of the top here. So I'm gonna turn and put the green end of the DSP at 4 3/4. Okay, there's that. Now this piece, we're gonna use it on the inside of our card, but we're probably gonna trim it down if you decide to. So we'll come back to that. For now, let's get in. Let me bring the card into view here, the finished card. If I can find, here it is, it's right here by my side. Love this card. I love this card. This is it's pretty. And my favorite thing, look at the little stone path. I just love it. There is a lot happening on this card that you might not notice. So buckle up because here we go. Okay, so we're gonna need cinnamon cider first. Okay, we're gonna be doing a lot of stamping on this. So cinnamon cider, and we're gonna stamp the birds in cinnamon cider. But because we've been stamping a Night of Navy, we've got to give them a clean, okay? Clean birds. Now I have to check my my stamp to make sure I'm going the right direction, but make sure you have your birds flying upward and not downward, okay? And they're going to just kind of be right in the sky, right there, okay? So there's our birds. And we're gonna stamp the trees in Evening Evergreen. Okay, let me find Evening Evergreen here. And I'm gonna give my trees, because I stamped them in Blackberry, so I'm just giving them a clean. Okay, so here's Evening Evergreen. I should show you the color. Sorry, I forgot to do that. The birds were cinnamon cider. The trees are gonna be Evening Evergreen. And it's easy to place. I'm just gonna place them down here on the horizon line, okay? And I'm gonna be doing a little bit more stamping. I'm going to stamp the grass in Old Olive. So what I'm doing, minus the birds, but our greenery setting here is the further back, the darker my colors are. Okay, so grass is in Old Olive. You could use Garden Green. You could use Evening Evergreen stamped off. This doesn't really show a whole ton, but I'm just doing this down here at the bottom of this piece here. Okay, there's that. And now we are ready to send this through the Big Shot I'm using the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. Folks, if you haven't seen the Last Chance list yet, this is on it. So do not miss out on this folder if you don't have it. It's such a good one. I am gonna, I'm not gonna put it away. I'm gonna keep using it. So, but I'm glad I have it. So and the reason is because it's so versatile, but for this very reason right here is what this does is what I'm doing is it kind of gives it a canvas look and it makes it look like a painted canvas. So hello, a must-have reason for the Tasteful Textile folder. I'm running it through my Big Shot right now. Okay, you do need to, when you're doing a technique like this, is you do need to stamp first and then run it through the folder. Okay, so look how cool that is. Super, super, super cool. And it's going to layer onto the cinnamon cider. And I want you to layer it so that you have even left, top, and right borders. Okay, so let's glue that on and you'll see why in just a second. We're gonna give it a torn edge on the bottom just to kind of enhance the earthiness of this card. Okay, so even on the sides and the top. Okay, now with your straight edge, and I'm going to use a Salisbury Barbershop. Okay, I'm going to hold this so that I'm, and so that's why you have enough edge here so that when you bring this on here, you're going to take off. Okay, it's better to take off less, and I'm just going to pull this up against a straight edge. Keep going. Okay, there's that. And so it just gives a nice, even though you have that edge, and then what you can do is just kind of come in here, and it's even easier once it's glued onto the Evening Evergreen, is I just kind of even give it more of that distressed, kind of that deckled edge. Okay, again, adding to the natural, the nature earthiness of it. Okay, so there's that. Let's glue this. So this is glued, folks. I've been using less dimensionals, I guess with more folds and things, and trying to get things to go through the mail. Make sure I'm doing this right. I finished a card yesterday and I went, oh great, I totally glued it together wrong. It's like, that's lovely. My card opened backwards. Okay, so there's that. Now, let's get into having some fun with our aqua painter again. So grab your aqua painter, grab your scratch paper so that we have something to muck up here. Well, I'm going to set the card aside. And grab your rag, have that handy again. And this time we are going to be using the pieces of watercolor paper, okay? So for this one, let's see here. You're gonna need trees. I see trees of green. You're going to need grass. And you're going to need a set of the fences, okay? So hopefully you noticed you have a few extra watercolor pieces, and those are for your, for you to use however you want. I just gave you some extras because you had some extra DSP. And this way you can paint them any color you want. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's start with the grass, okay? So with the grass, with the watercolor paper, I'm gonna pull out my Old Olive and I'm gonna pull out Evening Evergreen. So have those two ready, okay? And I want you to have, whoops, I'm gonna give this a little squeeze here. Get myself some ink in the lid. There we go. And I'm going to grab the grass image for this one. Okay, so I'm going to use my grass image as a paintbrush on this. Okay, so get your water painter flowing and going. Okay, and I'm just going to get this one wet. And with watercolor paper, I like to get the paper wet first and then get my ink really moving and just start adding it in here, okay? If it's dry and you put it on, sometimes it doesn't have that watercolor look. It doesn't flow. It just kind of sits on the paper and stains. And so that's why I like to work it this way. Kayleen, what's the sale price on that? Okay, I hit my evergreen pad here just a little bit here, folks, to get a little bit more variation in the green color. Now I'm going to take, and this is Evening Evergreen, and I'm going to take my grass image and I'm going to just kind of randomly, you saw I stamped, it kind of sticks to it, but I'm just gonna stamp it in places, okay? And let the wet water, and I'll show you this to you where you can kind of see, and let the wet water kind of move things around. But look at that, how cool that is. I just painted with my stamp. 720 instead of, oh, thanks, Sherry, 720, about the same time. What is it normally, 11? It's a 3D. That's a good price. Okay, so there's my grass. I'm gonna let that dry. And actually, before I let it dry, while it's wet, and it's not really wet enough for me, I'm gonna wet the back, okay? And you're gonna see why. I wanna make sure my piece is wet enough, because now I'm crinkling it. I don't know if you can see, and you need to do this with it wet. It just works so much better wet than if it were dry. And I'm even going down to the end here, and I'm just kind of scrunching it on itself. So can you see that? Oh, that's a good view, okay? So crinkle it, let it dry that way, and let's move to the fences. Well, no, let's do, even though the fences were next, let's do this since we're already in a green palette. So let's do the same thing. Let's paint this puppy with water. Okay. And now I'm going to come in and give it a green wash. Get it good and wet. Now I'm mixing up a little bit of Evening Evergreen and coming in here. Okay. And just kind of let the water do the trick here. Just kind of move this all around. For some reason, I'm thinking of that song, and the green grass grows all around, and the green grass grows all around. Does anybody know that camp song? That's the only part I can think of it right now. Okay. All right, and I can come back in. You can do this, or you don't have to, but I'm just gonna, lightly tap some of this. See what happens. See how it's just kind of wicking and it's doing its own thing, maybe. Okay, let that dry. This one I didn't crinkle. Let that one dry, but look how cool that is. Just having fun using my stamps as a paintbrush. All right, now we're going to switch from the greens and let's go to cinnamon cider, because we're gonna, oh, sorry, I lied. Man, I lied. How many times have I lied today? That's really bad. We need to do the trees since we're still in the green. Let's get the green color done. Then we'll switch to cinnamon cider. Okay, so I'm just getting these trees wet. These are gonna remain flat. I'm not gonna crinkle these. So tell me how you are doing painting with your stamps. So same thing, I'm just gonna do a base of the garden green. And you guys, you can see that any greens, if you've got Cucumber Crush or an older green that are, dark, yeah, it can be anything you have. It's totally perfect. Okay. So I'm going to get these just a little bit darker, these trees darker than my grass. But I still want some variation in the color. Okay, those are my trees. Beautiful. Yeah, you are going to have ink on your fingers today. Okay, and let's see, now we can move. So now we can clean your brush out. We've done all the greens. Now we're going to switch to, let me get rid of this piece. We're going to switch to cinnamon cider. This is my favorite right here. This sold me. This was one of the first things I did, and this sold me on this set and these dies. I just love it. Watch this that we're going to do. We're going to make an old weathered fence here. So we're going to take this totally crisp, beautiful piece of watercolor paper, and we're going to, I've got a little green action happening here, but that's okay, folks. It'll go away by the time we get moving. But get this good and wet. Okay. And get the backside wet. It's not, okay. Okay, because we are going to crinkle this to give it that weathered look and some dimension, which is why I didn't add dimensionals, is because these pieces are carrying the dimension in this card. So get this good and wet here. My water painter is not cooperating. So now I'm getting a good palette of cinnamon cider going here. And, you know, it's like doing a paint wash. Got to wash the fence, you know. Okay, so we're adding some cinnamon cider. Now, the next piece we're going to use is this piece that could be, it kind of looks like wood planks, but it works well as water too. I'm going to use this. I'm going to ink up in my cinnamon cider. And while this is wet, I'm just going to stamp on this. Whoops, roll it right onto my, and look how it just totally gives a look of that. So Diana, do you have soft suede or crumb cake? Just look for not a super dark brown, but a medium brown will look really good, okay? Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of wash that over again, getting some layer in here, and I'm gonna do it again, and I'm just gonna kind of create and make it look like wood. While it's wet, I'm gonna do the whole, and this just kind of crinkles right up on itself, okay? Just give it a crinkle, make it look like the fence is a little bit weathered. Now let's do it all over again on the smaller piece, or you're using, they're both the same, so it doesn't matter which one you did first. Okay, get it good and wet, front and back, because we're gonna crinkle it. And give it a good wash of the cinnamon cider. This is my kind of watercolor, where you just kind of have some fun, you add, take away. Ink up that image, and again, stamp it several times. And it doesn't matter where it lands, it's all perfect. Wherever it goes, it's good. Now I'm gonna wash it again, just to kind of blur out those lines. And while it's wet, I'm just gonna crinkle it again. Okay, how are you doing with the crinkling? Okay, good, Diana, those will be good. You just don't wanna get them too dark because they're in the foreground, okay? So now that I have all my pieces done, they're kind of sitting back there to dry, I'm going to get rid of this because that's gross, okay? In my stash of supplies here, you have a petal pink stitched rectangle. That's going to be our greeting. And we're gonna stamp the greeting in Evening Evergreen, okay? So Evening Evergreen is going to be the color for our greeting. And I'm doing Thanks for Everything, okay? So I'm gonna switch out my block here that says Thinking of You, and I'm gonna do Thanks for Everything, okay? And you have to be, okay. So I have 2 shots on this. I'm gonna try something different here. I'm gonna stamp the back first and practice, okay? So I'm actually gonna practice on here first. How is it stamping? Okay, stamping pretty straight. I'm gonna stamp the back here. See how I do? Oh, that's pretty good. Let's see if I can do that just as well. Okay, but just in case, I do have a good one. But I thought, you know how sometimes you get better at it the second time through? Now I'm gonna put the stitches the right direction. Okay, let's see here. Ah, pretty good, okay. Because usually I would stamp, but since I've made packets, this is already pre-cut. Usually I would stamp first and then die cut it so that it's perfectly framed, okay? This is gonna go on with dimensionals. Okay, so bring some dimensionals. And remember, I stamped it twice, that is the back. And I'm just gonna use a couple here. 1, I'm actually gonna use 3, 2, and 3, okay? So now that's ready to go. And you have that piece of smaller linen thread is for this card. So I'm gonna run my fingernails through just to tame down those crazy curls. And I'm just tying this in a bow. Nothing fancy here, folks, just tie a bow and even it up. How you like it. Okay, trim this end. And now that is ready, and all of my pieces should be dry by now, and I can come in and start to assemble things. So I'm gonna start with my trees and my grassy knoll here, okay? So this one is going to kind of reach across right here, but I can see that it's too long, so I'm just going to kind of hold my fingers, and I'm just gonna give this a straight edge on it. Okay, so just trim that off, trim off as much as you need. Okay, so that one's gonna glue there, and this one is gonna come and glue inside there. I just love, okay, so look how this turned out. If you remember, I stamped that with the grass and the Evening Evergreen, and just because it was wet, the water just, it wicked the ink out, and it gave me a nice blotchy look to it that kind of, I think, fits the look of the paper. Kayleen says, I don't have this bundle, but I just ordered it while watching because it's in low inventory. Woo! Yeah, it's a good one. It's a really good one. Plus, it matches and it pairs nicely with the Beyond the Horizon paper pumpkin kit that should be coming shortly. All right, so here is my grassy area, okay, adding dimension to the card. And now I'm going to do the trees just above it, and they're going to overlap the stamped trees. Okay, so I'm going to have this tree trunk kind of right in between. That's where my other one is. And so it looks like I need to trim a little off, so I'm just going to make this a hill. A little bit more angle there. Okay. That's going right to that edge. There's that. Super cute. Super, super cute. Now the fences are my favorite part. They're going to go to each side, and see how they're kind of bumpy, wumpy? That's good. That's what I want. Okay. So I'm just going to glue those on. And to glue these on, what I did is I did the ends. And maybe this one, okay? That way I can put this on, but I'm gonna hold that crinkliness by just kind of sliding them together a little bit, okay? Okay, so these are just kind of free floating, if you know what I mean. Same thing here. I'm gonna do the end, maybe this middle one, and this end one. Any questions? Yes, Kayleen, it matches the oceanfront stamp set too. I love that oceanfront. I have it. I'm planning on, I have some ideas, maybe a pickup class. Okay, there is that. And it has a little bit of puffiness to it, intentional. Bring in the grass. Okay. And flip that over, and that's going to come right down in here and kind of run along the bottom edge. So cute. So cute. Not cute. It's like cool. It's like magical. We just made it's like happy little trees, mighty mountains. Of course, we don't have any in this. I feel like Bob Ross. Okay, so this one's going here, but I'm gonna lay my linen thread bow there and hopefully pick it up with my dimensionals to glue it down. Okay. Kind of move this right into here. Let me shape my bow just a little bit. There we go. Okay. It's covering some of my bird action. There we go. Bring it down a little bit. And I have this eking off the edge. And there you have it. I had to stop and watch. I don't have the set, so I figure out other sets that would work later. So yeah, just look through some sets and look for things that have some trees. You know, the sets that are like oceanfront, there was waterfront, was there snowfront, something about a meadow. Those sets that they've had several of over the last few years, Sherry, would be really good because they're going to give you some pieces that you can stamp that are, you know, that have some distance to them and some things that work in the foreground. Okay, so there is the front of my card minus, because remember, I don't have any yet. I need to order a pack of pebbles. I gave them all to you guys. You're going to use the 3 dark gray pebbles on this card to form that stone path. Okay? Form your stone path. Sherry, let me know if you heard those sets. The other one, Lily Pad Lake, there's definitely one that's great for doing the painting action like I was just doing. Okay, so back to add your 3 dark gray stone pebbles and make a little stone path right through that fence. Pebbles are in back order and not orderable right now. They were the other day. A bummer. Maybe my mom's watching. Maybe she'll send me some of her pack because she just got a pack. Okay, we have to do the inside of this card. There's not a lot happening here. It's really, really easy, folks. We're going to take that piece of white paper and it's going to set down right in here, okay? And then this piece is going to stretch across. Now, this one I did a little different in that I cut some of my other piece off. So I used some of this across this, but I don't think I necessarily want to do that. I want to keep this intact for something else. So I'm going to do something a little bit different, and that is to use this piece, but I am going to trim it down because it's a little big, but I'm going to repeat and do the same action that we did in the front, and I'm going to use my straight edge on this, and I'm just going to kind of hold it right on the edge there, and I'm going to rip some of that off. And it's cool because you get a straight edge plus you get that torn edge, okay? And that's gonna go on my card. And I'm going to stamp the grass in, I originally stamped it in Old Olive, okay? You can kind of see it there in the background. So I'm gonna do that again because I don't want it to be too bold with everything else, okay? So it was Evening Evergreen, so I'm switching to Old Olive, okay? And I'm going to do it up just a little bit. So I'm going to go off the edge and put it right there. And with your wink of Stella, give it a little bit of a, I'm going to just kind of blur this out just a little bit with wink of Stella. It kind of moves the color just a little bit. Get this one down here, and a little bit right there. Okay, a little wink there. And my piece is going to set in here. I may trim this a little bit more. It's a little fat for my taste. So I'm going to take it down to be about a 1/2 inch wide. Okay. So I just ripped some, and now this is going to layer right in there. We're going to pull that pink color, and you have one of your fences, okay? So take one of your fences that are from the watercolor paper, bring your stuff back in, and we're going to do the whole fence action one last quick time. Okay, let me set these over here to dry. Get rid of old olive. Hold on, I got a lot of stuff out and in my way. Do you ever just, holy cow, I've made a mess. Okay, a little bit more organized. Okay, so going back to the old olive with your water painter. Again, we're gonna paint the front and the back. We should have done this when we had it out, but I was so excited to get to the gluing it all together. Okay. Okay, get the back side because we're gonna crinkle. Maybe not quite as much as the front, but we are gonna crinkle. Get your cinnamon cider or your mid-tone brown that you're using. Do a paint wash on there. I feel like I've not got water on this one side because I don't. I can tell it's not moving. Okay, come on, go. That was a lot of water. Okay, so back to our painting with stamps. Okay, load that on there. I think I want a little bit more of that action happening. Okay. And crinkle it just like we were doing so it has a little bit of dimension. And we'll let that dry. Yeah, so Kayleen, I agree. The dies don't need to be matched up with this stamp set. In fact, all of those others that are like the ocean front, the snow front, and I can't remember what the meadow, my meadow maybe, it was called something like that. Those all would be perfect fits with these dies. And of course, any greeting works. So, okay, let's put this together. We're gonna add a little bit of glue right here. And just add that right to the bottom of the grass. And I did the rough edge up, so it's opposite of the front, okay? And I'm gonna glue this to the inside. Put this dead center in the panel here. And now our fence is just going to kind of come right in there like so. Okay? So again, I'm going to do glue on this end and on this end, maybe a little right in here. Okay? And voila. I think I like this one better than my other one. So here's my original that I cut the paper, and to me it was wasteful. So I definitely like this use better. Okay, cute. And I'm seeing a little bit more grass in this one. there you have it. Super, super pretty. Okay, so there's our second one. Hopefully you like that. This was my first one that I made with this set, and I love this. I just felt like Bob Ross. I really did. Okay, moving right along to our last card. Our last card is beautiful also, and it's a little bit, there's more happening here than you realize. Okay, so this card is actually made with a half a sheet of paper and a quarter sheet of paper, and I'm going to show you how we're going to put it all together. Oh, thank you, Sherry. All right, so here's how we're going to put this one together. So you know me, there is a seam in here, but I'm always working to hide the seams, okay? So I don't want those seams to show. And I'm looking at this going, gosh, where is the seam? I know it's in here somewhere. Okay, so let's put this one together. Let's put the card together and then we'll decorate it. How's that? Okay, so the paper we need for this one is, to me, this is the showstopper piece of all of these DSP pieces in this pack. This is the ultimate. Okay, so I was really taking cues from this piece. And what I really wanted to do, but I didn't end up doing it because it was an afterthought. And I, oh man, I've already glued it down. But it'd be cool to even kind of separate some of this and re-glue it together. So if I cut like along this line and then glued the piece back on and cut along this line and glued it back just a little bit, it would give it some cool dimension. And I would try that, but I don't have any paper left, so I don't have any more of these pieces. All right, so that's what we're gonna use on this card. These two pieces are extra. You're gonna make something beautiful and post them. Post them here on Seeing Ink Spot's Backstage Pass. Okay, so these are the pieces we're going to need. This is, if you're wondering, this color is Sahara Sand. And this Sahara Sand is a great neutral for this particular pack of paper. Okay, so here is our paper here. Okay, so this piece here is going to be to the right side, and we're going to fold on this score line. We're going to fold inward, okay? So let's just give that a good burnish with your bone folder. Kind of like to do it upside down. I don't know why I do, but I just do. Okay, so there's that. We've folded there. Okay, and this piece is going to glue to the inside, and then when we cut our DSP, it's going to layer on the front, and that's how we're going to hide our mechanics, okay? So I have to tell you about hide your mechanics. That is not something that I made up. Back in the late 80s, when I started working for my former boss, Kren Rasmussen, who is the owner of Bloomsters in San Jose, I worked with him for over almost 23 years. Anyways, one of the first things he taught me was, oh, you got to hide your mechanics. And he would just kind of casually say that, meaning you can't show any of the things of the way you put it together, because then you lose the magic. And specifically, he was talking about when we were lighting Christmas trees. You know, you can't have all these cords showing. You have to hide how you've got it lit and, you know, kind of make it so that it's magical in a way. So that's why I say you've got to hide your mechanics so that one, it makes you look like a way better artist, and two, it makes the piece magical. I can't think of another way of saying it. Maybe you guys can help me with that. Okay, but let's work on our cuts so that we can assemble this, and I will stop blabbering. But, you know, Kren, my former boss, and I say former because I'm not living in San Jose anymore, he was quite the teacher. Quite the teacher for scale, for mechanics, like you say, and for color coordination, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so our paper cuts for this. Let's bring in our trimmer. Let's get a few cuts done. And this piece here, we are going to cut our narrow piece first, and then we'll do our others. So we're going to use we're going to use this whole thing on this card, and we're going to cut this to 4 1/4 inches wide. Okay, that's our narrow measurement, 4 1/4. We're gonna keep that. And we're going to cut the top off, okay, so that we're gonna put the flower end at 5 1/2. Okay, flower end is going in at 5 1/2, and I'm taking it down by 1/2 inch. Save this. This we're gonna use on the inside of the card. This we'll use on the front. And this piece here, we're also going to use on the inside. So I have to make this one 5 1/2 inches tall as well. Okay, so there it is. This piece, not gonna use so much. But hold on to it because you never know. I might have lied. Okay, so with all of these pieces, here we go, here we go. So with my piece of my quarter sheet of Sahara sand, I'm going to glue it inside, okay? So you're thinking, what? She's putting that seam on the outside? Yes, okay, because I'm making the inside equally as pretty as the outside. So I'm going to just add glue here. Okay. And, hey, attach. Kind of bring that in there. Get that all lined up nice and purty. Okay, and bring it over. So this one, it's narrower, definitely is on the inside. And I got some schmutz there, but it's not gonna matter because I'm gonna cover it up right now. Okay, and so this piece, this larger piece that we just cut, is going to go onto the front of the card. And so there you have it, that we are not showing any of, we've hidden where that seam is for the paper, okay? And that way we get a nice wide, you know, card. So this was a 1/2 sheet and this was a 1/4 sheet, okay? So let's do, before we glue this on though, I wanna stamp the birds, okay? So that's the only thing we're gonna stamp on this are the birds. The rest is all gonna be die cuts that we're gonna paint again. Can you see there was a theme to this? This set? Okay, these birds, you could do them in Night of Navy, you could do them in Evening Evergreen. I'm gonna do them in Night of Navy, but like, I think any dark color to me works. So let me just give them a clean here. Okay, make sure they're facing the right direction. And I actually started them, they're flying over the water and they're swooping down and they're coming across, okay? So yours may be a little bit different, but you know, just kind of pretty. There is that, but while we have this pad out, let's actually maybe stamp our tag as well. So you have, this is a fresh freesia. This was cut using the tailored tags. You know me, I love, love, love that set of dies. So you could stamp this in Night of Navy. I actually stamped it in Evening Evergreen, I think. So I'm gonna stamp it in Evergreen, but I'm gonna see how it's stamping on my block. Pretty straight, okay. Okay. Ta-da! There it is. There it is. Okay. Okay. There we have it. And I just realized that I blew it, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Okay, so let's glue this on now that we've got it stamped. Any questions? Learned that phrase in your retail. Well, that could be where Kren got it, Maggie. So I should have, so Maggie and I both know. So Kren is, he's a floral designer in San Jose. That is, he actually started out in landscaping and then switch to floral. Okay, so there we have that so far, okay? And yeah, in floral, you hide a lot of it, like how things are held together. Okay, so since we're kind of gluing pieces, let's talk about this piece right here. It needs a few more birds. So with your Night of Navy, give it just a few more that are flapping across. I kind of see that as a lake, and so yeah, they're just kind of flying over. I guess they're looking for fish, I don't know. Okay, and it's going to layer here, and this is gonna become a pocket. But to me, just layering that there and having a rough edge was, you know, it wasn't finished, it wasn't polished off enough. And so, but I wanted to include this piece because this was so pretty. So to me, you opened it and it's a continuation, right? So I cut you a fresh freesia, and this is from the Basic Borders dies. So if you had camp with me in February, you have those dies or something similar, but that's where this piece came from. And I'm just gonna tuck that right up tight. Get that in there. So now when I glue this here, it doesn't feel so disjointed. It feels a little bit more integral to the whole design. Okay, now I'm not gonna glue the whole thing down because it is a pocket. Every card should have a pocket. And Wink of Stella. I'm just kidding, but that way you can tuck a little message if you have more to say, or a photo, or maybe you're giving them like tickets to something, or a gift card, which is what I showed you. Mine has a gift card tucked into it. Okay, so just like this one, look at this Lolly and Pops. I should go use this. I love candy. So that actually can slip and become a pocket. Okay, so that is that. Now let's look at the inside, and then we will get to decorating everything. Okay, so the inside, we are going to stamp with gray granite, but this piece here, if we put this in here like this, it's gonna buckle up. So what I want you to do, and the reason I'm having you do this is so that you realize, even though this is like a quarter sheet of paper, because it's our usual 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, if I put a 4 1/4 piece of paper in here, it's gonna bunch up on itself. So I'm gonna take a hairline off of one edge. So Jolinda, a stick of gum, that's right. You must have heard me when I said my gramps and grandma would always slip a stick of gum. Double mint, a spearmint. What was the white one called? That was the one I liked more. I did not like juicy fruit. I still don't like juicy fruit. Okay, so now when I put that in there, good. It sits in there nicely and it's not buckling. Okay, so we're going to pull out some gray granite here. Okay, gray granite. And we're gonna stamp the birds in gray granite and the grass in gray granite. So, a little chamois action here. Okay. And let me pull this so I'm not stamping on thicknesses. So I've got some birds and they're swooping down like so. And now the grass. And the grass, what I'm gonna do is actually stamp it a few times. So I'm stamping off to the edge here. And then I'm stamping again, kind of right in here. All right, and now huff on that and just re-stamp it kind of right in there. I'm gonna ink it up one more time, stamp off, and I'm gonna get a little bit right in there. So I'm just kind of filling the bottom with the grassy image here. And now in this little nook here, I'm gonna do the relax and enjoy your day. Okay, so any greeting would work in there. I'm using ones from the stamp set, of course. If you're using another stamp set, I'm sure you can find some awesome little things to say down in here. But because my tag is stamped in in the Evening Evergreen. I'm gonna stamp my greeting on the inside in Evening Evergreen as well. Okay, so there it is. Beautiful. So that is our stamping for this piece. Have a little bit more stamping to do on the inside of this card. So we're kind of like doing the whole, put the card together, stamp the inside, then the front. Oh, so my ADD is showing. Which color for the grass? It is gray granite, okay? Gray granite is the color that we're looking for, okay? And I'm gonna stamp with gray granite one more time, okay? And that's going to be down here on the bottom, and I'm gonna do the trees in gray granite. Okay, and so gray granite trees right down here on the bottom. Pretty, birdie birdie. And you have a yellow set of trees. I said yellow, this is actually pale papaya. I'm not gonna paint these, we're just gonna put them on. Okay, we'll paint on the front, all kinds of stuff. Okay, and I'm gonna run these right along the edge. Okay, like so. And it's hanging over just a little bit, so I'm just gonna snip that off. Okay, and now you have a piece here, and I guess I cut it wrong, but that's okay. So we're gonna just take this piece, and it is gonna go up this side edge here, and I'm gonna piece it together. Let's see if we can make it look good. Yeah. Huh. What to do? So I should have cut that whole strip off the top. That's the one case where we should have cut our long measurement first. Oh well. Okay. We'll make it work. Maybe we'll put something there later. Ha! Come back tomorrow night to see how she's fixed her goof. Okay, this is gonna go underneath and right on the edge. Okay. And then this piece is gonna butt right up in there, and I wish I hadn't cut it apart. Oh well. Oh well. Sorry I blew it, folks. But that's not the only thing I blew. Can you guess? Have you figured it out? Okay, so gonna have to figure out what that's gonna be. Come back tomorrow, see what I've done to fix it, but trim that off. Now this piece here can glue to the inside. And right down here through the center. Okay, cool. So there we have it. There's the inside of our card. Now we're going to decorate everything. Okay, let me not lose my lolly and pops for sure. Okay, so now the rest of this is all for the front. And we have lots to do on this. We're still gonna watercolor and kind of paint our images up a bunch. I forgot some stamping on here and here, but we can still do it. So, not a problem. Grab your Evening Evergreen, okay? And the stamp image. We have to stamp the grass, okay? So I'm just kind of inking up the one side, and this side here on the inside, I'm gonna do some Evening Evergreen right down there on the corner. The tag is backwards. No, the tag isn't backwards. Nope, that's not my mistake. Still haven't figured it out? Just leave it short. Yeah, Diana, leave it short. That would be good. Could leave it short. Okay, now this one is going to stamp across the front. Okay, so right in there, like so. Haven't figured it out. Maybe I won't tell you. Oh, you'll figure it out. Okay, so now let's get to, so we're gonna need the stamp image again because we're gonna paint with it. And we're also going to paint with the water slash, you know, wood slats. And we're gonna need our fence again. And we're gonna need, oh, you guys, we're gonna need 4 grasses on this card. 4 grasses, okay? You're gonna need, we use this as water. This time we're gonna use this as kind of, you know, a mowed lawn, I don't know. And then some trees. So we have all these pieces we have to work here. So what I'm gonna do is bring in some scratch paper. Kind of tidy up my surface here so you can see what we're doing. And let's do all these pieces of grass first, okay? And so we're gonna get them wet, just as we've been doing, right? Okay, get them wet. And we're going to paint them. So I'm using Old Olive on this one. I've got to squeeze my lid and get some more ink going and flowing. Okay, and I'm kind of working 2 at a time here. But I'm just giving them a little bit more depth. Again, let me just kind of point this out. When you have this up on here, it looks a little flat. And so to me, adding a little bit of that watercolor just gives it a little bit more dimension and interest. Okay, while it's wet, I'm going to take my stamp in the Old Olive and stamp the grass again. Okay. Again, it just kind of gives it a little bit of, gives it some, it makes it kind of look like you've made your own designer series paper, okay? So there's 2 grasses done. Let's do 2 more. The dogs just came in. They've been outside barking at people walking across the back. It's spring break here, so they've been barking at unusual hours. Okay, so now I'm just doing a little bit of a wash on this, and then I'll stamp it while it's wet so that the image kind of bleeds a little bit. Okay, there's another one. Nothing fancy, nothing fancy. Okay, a little green wash. Get some color going on there. Ooh, that's a good one. And again, stamping the grass. Okay. And you know what? I gave these a little crinkle. These crinkle a little easier than the watercolor paper, but they have a little bit of crinkle to them. Okay, let them dry. Same as these, little crinkle. Okay. There you have it. Okay, now let's move along to this piece here. So this is Granny Apple Green. And so I wanted it to have a little bit of a difference from the Old Olive, from, you know, so it's starting out a little bit different just to give us some different depth. Okay, so I'm just doing a little paint wash on this. Not even worrying about hitting the whole thing. And I'm going to use the plank piece, okay? Maybe just kind of in a couple directions, kind of getting a grassy look. I could add the grass to it as well if I wanted, but you know, get a little more color going in here. Just throw a little evening evergreen. And I'm going to do just a little bit of a ripple through this while it's wet. And it's just to add some of that visual dimension again, to kind of match all the cool dimension that they've created with the watercolor painting the scenes. Okay, so I'm gonna move along to Evening Evergreen and do just a little wash on these Evening Evergreen trees. Okay, they're pretty much, these don't need quite as much as the others, but just a little bit, just kind of like we've been doing. Okay, and I stamped them before and got them really dark. I think I'm gonna leave these a little bit not as dark as I did on my originals. Okay, so there's that. Now let's do the last batch of fences for today. These are gonna be watercolored with gray granite, and I'm gonna use the plank / water image as my paintbrush for this one, but I'm going to clean it up because we're going to use gray granite. Okay. So again, let's get them wet. A little bit of Evening Evergreen in that brush, but that's okay. Kind of blend it out. Okay. Squeeze that lid, grab some ink, get it good and moving. There's just, sometimes if it's not watery enough and you're like, how come it's not? It's because you don't have enough water. So you get that water flowing. This one already dried. Okay. Okay. And then come in, just like we've been doing, and let's paint. Really gives it kind of a cool fence look, you know, because you're getting that grain. Does adding water to the cardstock make it too soft to handle? You make it look so easy. Yeah, no, it's fine. It'll hold up. And mine are pretty wet. Okay, I'm just needing to get it more wet so that the ink will move. Yeah, cool. And I'm going to bend this one a little bit. Okay, let those dry. Kind of clean up house here while those are drying, and now we'll assemble them all to the front. Okay, get rid of that icky scratch paper. And let's see how these all go together. The one I'm going to start with, let's bring in our grasses. We have 4 grasses, right? And so this grass right here, I'm going to trim it and just take it down a little bit. So I've just taken, you know, the short side of stuff off, and I'm going to glue this. Give a little glue, kind of like we've been doing. And this one is for this inside corner, okay? So just kind of crinkle it up using my fingernails to kind of get that dimension in there. Okay, so there's that one. There's one. Now the other 3 are for the front. Let me show you where they're going to go. We're going to do one down here with the grass that we stamped. We're going to do one over here in the fence and one over here at the fence, okay? So we almost need to have the fences on first. So we're going to come back to these. But let's do this bottom one first. We can get that one out of the way. Kind of start developing our scene. Okay. All right, so this one is going to, so I'm just kind of echoing the stamped line, you know, that where the stamped image was. There's that one, okay? Now let's go to the grass. Okay, so this is kind of our grassy, and the nice thing is this, that we got it wet. I kind of want to accent this line right through here. It's about halfway through. So I'm gonna take my little mount, you know, and I'm just gonna kind of glue it right into that area. And yes, we're gonna trim that side off. Okay, so let's just glue that much. So yes, while it's kind of still pliable, I'm kind of arcing it a little bit, okay? And trying to maintain a little bit of that crinkliness that we gave it, okay? Now just kind of fold your card over and we'll just chop this off, get a good straight cut on it, okay? Got mine a little close. Oh well, it's okay. Now our fence, and so I'm going to do, oh, you know what I did? I got tricky on this one. Oh, painted the wrong side. We're supposed to paint the back side. Okay, well, we gotta fix it. Okay, so I got tricky and I just caught myself. Oh man, I'm blowing it. Okay, wow, back to the water painter. Okay, sorry here, folks. We're going to paint this side of the fence. Wax on, wax off, right? No, paint on, paint off. That's what we need to be doing. All right, sorry. We're gonna do the back side. And I did it because I was just trying to show the versatility, but it actually, for the layout, it works this way. Okay, paint the back. Paint the back. Ha ha ha. Okay. And same thing, add the plank image to make it look like wood. Okay, there's that one. Okay. And it's gonna go this direction. So now I definitely have to change this one too because the perspective will be all off. So here we go. We wanted to make this class extra long, right? Hey, it's what we do for the beauty of the art. Okay, get it good and wet, add that ink. Doesn't take too long. And stamp the wood grain. Okay, we'll let that dry just a little. Okay, we'll put those on once we'll put the grass on once we can't do the grass without the fences. Okay, but we can do our bank of trees here. And so our bank of trees, they're gonna kind of come and I'm just gonna kind of curve them too, and they're gonna run across the top. And I actually trimmed this off so it wasn't quite as long. So I'm just gonna take some of that off. Just kind of following the curve, okay? And we'll glue this one on. And if you notice, I'm not gluing the tree tops totally down because if they're kind of bendy and they flip up, it just gives it a little bit more dimension and kind of matches the rest of the card. So, but again, I'm gonna kind of arc this a little bit, okay? Arc it, give it a little bit of a, so see this, my other one had a little bit of lift right through here. Okay, little dimension, makes everything better. Okay, now that we have our fences painted the right direction, I'm gonna glue the end, something in the middle, and the other end down. Okay, this one is going to just kind of follow right along where our little grass is, but glue one down, glue your other end down, and kind of push them so that you get a little bit of that dimension in there, okay? Just kind of some natural dimensional in there. Then we're gonna take one of our grasses and it's gonna come in here, And I think I want, this one's a little darker, so I'm gonna do this one. And again, I'm gonna trim some off, but maybe not as much as I did on the first one. So I'm just following the direction of that blade of grass right there, okay? So just trim some off. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine, because even mine aren't the same. And it's going to tuck in here. Again, keep the crinkle. All right, now we're gonna glue this one down. Dang, and this fence looks good on this side. Oh well. Okay, same drill as we've been doing. We're gonna glue this down, the one end, glue the other end down, kind of push them together. Okay, and sometimes, you know, while things are still drying, kind of you can mold the paper just a little bit. And now this grass, I think I want to get this one just a little bit darker. My original has a little bit more dark, you know, I want it to have a little bit more contrast between these two, just so that they show up. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to take a little bit of the Evening Evergreen and get my brush wet. And I'm just going to kind of hit some color down in here. So yours might have had enough contrast, but mine just felt a little, I don't know, a little light. I wanted to see the difference between this grassy blade and then this other that we've cut. That's better, but I think I still want a little bit more. So just kind of gonna hit the edge. Okay. And I just ran my whole hand through my Evening Evergreen pad. Great. Okay, you're almost near the end here, folks. Okay, now this one, gonna glue it right there. Okay, have you figured out what I blew it yet? You haven't figured it out yet? Okay, here's my grass. And I'm gonna run this kind of all the way across to the other fence or wherever it lands. Actually, I'm going to pick this up and crinkle it in a little bit so it'll fit in the envelope. Glue. Okay, good. Now I got this one a little bit blotchy, so I can always just kind of take a little bit more up into here. Not quite so blotchy, maybe add a little bit to this one. Okay, stick. All right, so almost done. Here is where I blew it, folks, and I'll tell you how I blew it. Okay, where is my purple tag? So this card was designed, that short piece of linen thread was for this card, okay? My problem is I made the bookmark in the other. Remember how I said, oh, I decided I wanted to make a pocket? And I completely forgot about the linen thread there and in another. Anyway, I blew it. So I owe you a piece of linen thread. So grab yourself a piece of linen thread or grab yourself a piece of, you know, kind of, there's crumb cake twine, and tie yourself a little bow in there. Throw some dimensionals on this. My apologies, folks. You know me, I love linen thread. I'm happy to put it anywhere and give it away. I go through lots of spools. I am sorry, folks. I truly am. So that's where I blew it. Are the birds upside down? Nope. Nope. It was that I forgot to give you the linen thread for this bow. But it's easy enough to get in there and add a bow to it. Now, let me show you where I'm going to put this on. I'm going to put this on to where I'm covering the edge of that grass just a little bit. Okay. Come over into here. And I can see I put this on different than I did the first time, but that's okay. I had it flipped. I had it inverted there too. Okay, so you're gonna need a little linen thread there. And let me show you where the pebbles are on this card. You have a couple light gray and you have a brown okay? And then you also have some pebbles over tucked in here. So add your pebbles that you have left. You should have 6 pebbles left, but add them where you like them, okay? Wherever you like them. And there's one last thing that you might not have noticed on this card. And I'm gonna give this to you as homework, and I'm gonna do a few and then you can do the rest. But you have these 2 pieces of cardstock, pumpkin pie and fresh freesia. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just literally kind of following, I'm taking the cue from the designer series paper here, and we're going to punch some circles. So with your hole punch, just a little old hole punch, okay? I have some in there, but you're going to punch, and punch about, 6 or 7 of each color, but I'm just gonna do 1 for right now. So I'm taking that tiny little hole punch right there, and you could skip this step if you wanted, but I just want you to see that I did do it. And you're gonna take a stylus and kind of mold it. And you know what? It starts to hurt when you mold a whole bunch in your hand. Let me show you another trick that I did. If you put this little piece of paper on your adhesive remover, or you could put it on a paper piercing pad, but you can just kind of see how that gave it a little bit of lift, gives it a little bit of, gives it just a tiny little bit of character. I'm gonna do a teeny tiny dot of glue here, okay? And then you can take your pick tool and just add these little flowers, and I'm gonna show you what I've done on my other one. I'm gonna point it out. So you may not have seen it, but look, there's one here, here. So now and they're just kind of random. And then once they were glued and really dry, I just kind of came in and just kind of picked at them with my fingernails just a little bit. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on the front. And I have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that's more than 7 of each color. So do like 8 of each color and then just put them wherever you like. But what it does is, to me, the card is beautiful without it. But it just kind of, these little flowers down in here that the artist has given us they're so sweet. And I just wanted to echo them just a little bit and add, we had all this other dimension, why not floral dimension too? So that's what's happening there, folks. So this is the first class I've ever done where we're missing pieces on our cards, like pebbles, twine, and I haven't finished my flowers on this card, but I will. I'll go through. It takes a few minutes to do, but turn a good song on or something and have some fun just adding those. And I just sprinkled them wherever. Some are tucked under the grass and some are a little higher. So there it is. I have a few cards. Let me I'm going to sweep my hand across here and clean up this space just a little bit. I have a few more cards to show you. I did make a few more. Not many, just 2, but just trying different things. So here's one, kind of changed the fence up a little bit different here. Okay, so I've used the background. So the plank, this image here, okay, is I've stamped a background back here, and then I've used the timber or whatever this is being called these days. So, and this is one of the pieces that was left over in your packet. So it's this piece here. Sorry, I didn't pick it up. It's this one, okay? So here's this little lake right here. So it's that piece right there. So there's this one, kind of pretty. And then this one here, a little bit different. This one really makes me think of, at least this right in here, Cape Cod. They have a lot of fences, and then there's a lot of seagrass and different things growing on the hills right before you get out to the sand. So this piece here is actually this side of the paper over here, okay? So I've stamped some trees, some of the grasses. Grasses are upside down, both upside down the die, just having some fun. So, and I plan to make some more when I get a little bit more time. I'd like to stamp some more today, but I can't because I have company coming later this evening. And so I want to be sure to get the house finished, cleaned up, you know. Okay, so here's a few. Here are the ones that we've made today. Okay, so this one needs to get tied back again. So there's that one. And then where is the one from that we just did? Okay, so on the horizon, hopefully you have loved it. Next week, or sorry, 2 weeks, we'll be doing Beyond the Horizon on April, what is it, the 7th? And so be there. Also take a look. I will be posting some announcements later today, maybe tomorrow, on what's coming up and that class, that pickup class for the greenhouse garden. So thank you for coming. Maggie, you are super welcome. Marcia, you're welcome. Diana, everybody. Any suggestions on making 2 cards from one sheet from one display? Okay, what do you mean? 2 sheets from one display. Do you mean from one DSP? So what I've done, what you could do is like this one here that I just did. This one uses just a portion. So if that's what you mean, you know, you could do it that way. So I can't scroll back. Oh, wait. Yes, I can. Any suggestions on making 2 cards from one sheet of DSP? Yes. Yeah. So it's like using just an edge. That's how you could get 2 out of 1. Very easy. Or sometimes like what we did on some cards like this one is using a whole front, or not making it quite so big. Like this one here used a much smaller piece. So you could use a smaller piece and narrow it up and have more cardstock space showing. Linda, the replay will be available right after I hit finish. So this, when I do a live, I can save it and never erase it within seconds. So that's when it will be. So Diana, I'll be posting some more over the next little bit. I just have to have a little time to make some. So you're welcome, Gail, everybody. So I'm so thankful that you have come and stamped with me this month. This has been a really fun month. Next month is going to be equally as great. So I hope to see you then. I will catch you all on the flip side or tomorrow night. Zoom with us. Okay? I'd love for you to be there. Awesome. Talk to you later.